Welcome back, everyone. You know, I recently mentioned I suffered a complex migraine, and a doctor recommended that I see Dr. Dan Henry, the leading expert in migraines in Utah. And I'm also joined now by Dr. Henry and his daughter, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Well, this one is a personal one because I suffered a migraine with Aura. And Dr. Parkinson with Intermountain Healthcare said you need to see Dr. Henry because you are the leading expert here in the state and across the country, really. What exactly is a migraine with Aura?
Well, migraine with Aura, and a lot of people think that if you don't have Aura, that you don't have migraine. And we now know that at least only about a third of migraineurs have Aura, and 2/3 have migraine without Aura. And Auras are predominantly two types, and then there are other more complex ones like your case. And the main auras that the majority of people have, about 60%, have migraine with visual aura. They get scintillations, they get spots in front of their eyes, they may get blind spots, and this usually precedes the actual headache by anywhere from a few minutes to 30 minutes or so. Other people will get sensory auras, and they'll get tingling and numbness. They may get weakness in one arm, one leg, and those are very scary because they think they're having a stroke. And it does present very similar to a stroke. And the more complex ones that have more weakness, more numbness, they may have loss of speech, they may have slurred speech, really look like a stroke. So those are really scary, and they end up in the ER very quickly. And
what I found out was that migraines are so common, actually, and so common, in fact, that we don't have enough awareness out there. And this is why you started the foundation. And I want to step back a little bit and be able to tell your story about how the foundation was created and after such tragic loss. Elizabeth?
Sure. The Danielle Foundation was established in 2016 by my parents, Dan and Diane Henry, and myself, in memory of my sister Danielle, who had migraine onset at the beginning of age 8 and ultimately ended her life at the age of 17. We started the foundation to provide support and access to treatment for those living with migraine disease, especially children and young adults.
Dr. Henry, you traveled all over the place to find help and relief for your daughter, and you weren't finding the right answers.
Well, that was back in the 1990s, you have to remember. And at that time, there weren't a lot of answers. We saw some of the very top people in the country, and nobody had answers. She had a very complex migraines like you did. She ended up actually having small strokes before she ended her life. And her frequency just kept getting more, so that near the end she was having migraines almost every day, if not every day.
And your mission was to find some answers, and that's what led you to the profession you're in right now, isn't
Correct.
it?
Yeah, and really what it was is the whole idea is that we want to bring this to the light, so to speak. And really, because it's such a stigmatized disease, people think migraine's just a headache, and it's not. It's a very serious neurological condition that affects over 40 million Americans, most of whom, or a high percentage, who have never even been diagnosed, and so don't have the earliest treatment. Now, you know, we're now 22 years after Danielle's death, and I can happily say there's a lot of new things coming out, a lot of new treatments. We just need to make the awareness so people find what they need.
Well, that's what I felt was hope when I came to your clinic, because you do provide that, and there are more answers now, and you have a foundation. If people out there might not know what to do, what would you tell them when it comes to migraines and chronic migraines?
If they're having chronic headaches and they don't know, is it migraine, is it not migraine, what is it? Talk to their own doctors first and see if they have an understanding and interest and knowledge about it. If not, reach out to others.
Let's put that foundation website on so people can log on right now for more information. It is daniellefoundation.org, and we are going to talk about the migraineatschool.org, a really huge push in Utah to help folks in grade school. So don't go away because you guys are sticking around. Dr. Henry and Danielle with us, making a difference in our schools and really our community. We're talking about a new resolution passed in our schools, so we can't wait to dive into that when we come back. All right, Dr. Henry and Elizabeth with the Danielle Byron Henry Migraine Foundation. They've stuck around to talk about migraines at school, a very important step for students, parents, and educators. And I want to talk about how big of a deal this is. The Utah PTA just passed this resolution to have literature like these to be put in our schools.
Yes, this is very, very exciting. It's a huge leap forward for migraine in the education setting. We have worked closely with CHAMP, the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients, to put all of this information together, and it can all be found at migraineatschool.org. The resolution was just adopted by the PTA on May 5th, and we're working to incorporate this education into the state core health class, as well as provide resources, like you said, for parents, students, and educators.
Well, Dr. Henry, how big of a deal is this? I mean, you help so much because migraines with kids can look very, very different.
Exactly. And that's the whole point in this, is a lot of children, start out with abdominal migraines. They may see their doctors and they get GI workups and they get scoped and they get CT scanned and all these things because they keep getting recurrent abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and then 3 or 4 hours later they're running around. You wonder what the heck's going on, and it may be years before they start actually having headaches with these. And the key is to identify these children younger, because if we can get this into the school system, get these individuals identified and get them on treatment so that the ones who have more severe disease can start treatment earlier, we can prevent a lot of the chronicity. You have to remember, this disease is the #2 cause of disability in the world.
It's so common that we don't even know about this. And what's so great as well, the next step is you get that information, kids see this, oh, this is what I'm suffering, but they can also have a voice because schools can accommodate with certain things about testing and lights dimming. Can you talk a little bit about what students can ask for from teachers?
The sky is almost the limit. I mean, they can ask for later start time if they're really severe, because I have a lot of kids under the age of 10 who have, when they first start, have migraine literally 15 to 30 days a month. These kids, a lot of them, haven't been in school for a long time or rarely get to school. And you could make accommodations for having them start with shorter days, have them gradually build up while you're getting them under treatment. You could have them have dimmer lights. You could have more special glasses, water at their desk, their rescue meds at their desk rather than having to go to the office or call their parents to get medication. And so and in this program, and if you look at this, there's flyers for educators, there's flyers for parents, and flyers for kids so that they can all get on the same page.
Elizabeth, how exciting is this? Because my sister on the East Coast, my niece and nephew, they suffer from these migraines and they had no idea because they weren't aware.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there is a genetic component to migraine as well, and that is the other reason it's so important to address the stigma surrounding migraine. People often think migraine is just a headache. It's not just a headache, it's a neurogenetic disease. So it's so important to get the word out, to educate students, and then educate their parents, educate the teachers as well, many of whom may have migraine themselves. So this is really a huge leap forward for both the state and the nation as far as bringing migraine into the light.
And I'd like to say this is the first resolution adopted by the PTA going to the Education Board. This is the first state in the union to do this. So we're starting here, but the idea is that it's going to go to the national PTA later this year. And hopefully it'll be resolved and put in the school systems throughout the
Dr.
country.
Henry, that's what I was going to ask you. Us being the model here, is your hope that this type of literature, awareness, information will be spread out across the country in grade schools everywhere.
Absolutely. Grade schools, middle schools, high schools, college. We have accommodations for college students as well. This disease is unrelenting, and we're going after it.
I love that fight. Tell also folks about the hope that you have. I mean, if we had this education in our schools, and I know you are a migraine sufferer and you had it much later, but think about just maybe Danielle and the other kids out there who don't know.
Absolutely. We taught to a number of children preparing a video for this campaign called Growing Up with Migraine, where you can find at the website migraineatschool.org. And the children felt, first of all, so good telling their stories, and then also thinking that people were going to understand, that they weren't faking it. They weren't faking the stomach pain. They weren't faking a headache, that this is a real disease and that it needs to be addressed as such.
Thank you so much. The validation and the hope out there. Thank you to the both of you, Dr. Henry and Elizabeth. And you've helped me, and I haven't had a migraine since, so thank you again. We'll have a link on our website for those two links as well. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.